Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Coffee and Conversation this Wednesday morning. I had a thanks for joining us. That was kind of left over from the last time, still working our way through some of these new technologies, but it is Wednesday. Let's see, it is January 5th. So welcome to the new year. It's good to be back, seeing all of you, being with all of you. Peace be with you. Welcome to 2022. Good morning, Dottie. Good morning, Libby. First hopping on to identify and say, hey, welcome back to 2022. It's good to be here. I don't know about you guys. I survived. I'm calling it like Hologeddon. It was crazy with all the illnesses and things going around, and between Christmas and New Year's. Good morning, Tina. Thanks for hopping on this morning. Yeah, it was a little bit of a crazy holiday season. I didn't even get myself adjusted here properly because I was just rushing around. So yeah, it was a great holiday. It was different. Some of our family decided to sort of pull back on some of the bigger gatherings, which was probably smart. Which was smart because as it turned out, one of the people that had pulled back had young children, and one of the young children had tested positive. So yeah, it was. I felt like this season was sort of like. Do you guys remember laser tag? If you do, just kind of raise your hand. We just like it. To me, it seemed like just trying to like run from one end of like the playing area to another, without like dying, without like getting shot too many times. That's kind of what getting through this holiday season felt like for me. It was crazy. We definitely we're fortunate to see some friends and family from out of town that we hadn't seen in a long time. So that was great, and spent a lot of together time, a lot of just downtime. Many of we are both in classes, so it was nice to be on break. Of course, the first part of break, Bill had to be finishing up a paper, but yeah, we were able to really just take time this holiday and just relax, take some time to take stock. Of course, be reflective as, everybody is this time of year. So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, sort of how I begin the new year. I don't know if it may be different than some of you. It may be similar, but I was thinking about this the other day. I'm probably on the high end of the tribe here as far as years of experience. So yeah, I mean, I've had a few years. I've had a few years of New Year's of, resolutions, and, this year I'm going to, do this and this. Good morning, Cindy. Thanks for hopping on this morning. So yeah, I don't really do New Year's sort of resolutions, so to speak. I do reflect on the year. I look at sort of some of the things that went well, some things that didn't go so well. And again, I don't resolve like big sweeping, grand, changes. Like I'm going to, do this diet, or I'm going to do this workout plan, or I'm going to, yes, I want to stay healthy. I've, sort of been, in a, well, not necessarily diet, but, watching what I eat for all my life. I hover around the same weight, as much as I'd like to, maybe lose a few pounds, it just, my weight is comfortable where it is. Do I need to lose a few pounds? Probably not. So yeah, it's just, it just kind of, I look at some of the things that are going well, like I said, lean into those things, try and be more cognizant of what's working. And yeah, looking at things that aren't. So in preparing for today, some of the things, I was talking to a friend, kind of about how this sort of how we wind down to find something to talk about. And I was out the other day for a walk, and there's a couple different ways I can go. I usually walk in our area. We're allowed to walk on the cart paths for the golf course when in this season. And a good friend of mine last year said something about like getting outside every day to walk. And I thought, man, even in the cold. But she said there's no bad weather, there's just bad gear. So I bundle up. I bundle up almost every day. Literally, I try and get outside every day, even, in the coldest of colds, just to be out in the weather, out in, the fresh air. And it's usually so beautiful and crisp and very, a lot of solitude when it's that cold because there's not very many people on the trails. But yeah, I did that. So yesterday, the day before yesterday, there's one way I can go. It's kind of like a quick, short, familiar walk. And then there's another one that's a little bit longer. So I decided, I'm going to do the one that's a little bit more challenging, a little bit longer. So I did. I pushed myself and thought, I'm going to do this longer walk, and it was a lot longer and it was a lot hillier. And usually I walk for about 30 to 35 to 40 minutes, and this was closing in on an hour. But again, I sort of got to the very tip of like where the golf course is, and then it kind of starts to back around, and I was treated to the most spectacular sunset that you could imagine. I mean, it literally stopped me in my tracks. It took my breath away. And I thought, gosh, if I had not taken this path, I would not have been gifted this magnificent, truly magnificent sunset. And so, I stopped and paused and took it in, and I kept walking, and then I kept kind of looking at different angles. And of course I didn't bring my camera, or my phone, which one of the things I try and do is to go like without the phone, like just have the experience, not be tempted to text anybody, or, I do tend to take a lot of pictures. And this was one time I really wish I had the camera, but then again, it was so beautiful. I couldn't have captured it anyways. So I don't know if that's ever happened to you, where you just kind of have been like gifted this moment where you really pushed past something and then were so rewarded. So that just kind of got me thinking, literally of, that's sort of, one of my, not resolutions, but one of the things I really want to live more into this year is to push, a little bit further. And so I was kind of thinking of like when Libby was talking about, getting a word, and, a lot of people do that where they say, I'm going to choose a word. And I usually do that too. And I had kind of been thinking about it. So I don't know if anybody of you, like, it was great. It was a great article that she shared, last week with us about having, how to determine a word and all that, which takes, it takes some time. It takes some solitude to reflect and sit and do that. So I didn't want to kind of rush through just to have a word. But I was kind of thinking on it. And on Monday, again, I was kind of, I was lecturing at the cathedral, and it's so beautiful. It's so stunning, the way they decorate for Christmas. And being a lector, you get to be behind the scenes. So you get to see kind of a lot of the different views of what most people don't get to see. So I took some pictures then and posted, and then that kind of reminded me too. It was like, well, this is what the view that you get when you push past like what you would normally do. Like, I lecture at like my local parish, but I wouldn't necessarily, last year Bill encouraged me, they were looking for lectors at the cathedral. So I did. I pushed, out of whatever my comfort zone might be. But again, the reward for pushing yourself and taking the time to take in what is afforded when you do kind of push yourself past your limits, and God has, such amazing gifts for you when you do that. I don't know if that ever happens to you. If it makes sense. If it does, give me like a high five or kind of a shout out. But yeah, there are really tremendous rewards for pushing, a little bit past, leaning a little bit further into who we really feel God's calling us to be. So those were kind of some of my experiences that were happening. And then I found online this Facebook post that I posted that I really want to share. So if those of you follow me, I apologize if it's a repeat, but I saw this beautiful story And it was posted on a friend's wall. And it was it's a story about in Washington, D.C., at the metro station on a cold January morning in 2007, a man with a violin played six Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. During that time, approximately 2,000 people went through the station, most of them on their way to work. After about 4 minutes, a middle-aged man noticed that there was a musician playing. He slowed his pace and stopped a few seconds, and then he hurried on to meet his schedule. About 4 minutes later, the violinist received his first dollar. A woman threw money in the hat and, without stopping, continued to walk. At 6 minutes, a young man leaned against the wall to listen to him, then looked at his watch and started to walk again. At 10 minutes, a 3-year-old boy stopped, but his mother tugged him along hurriedly. The kid stopped to look at the violinist again, but the mother pushed hard and the child continued to walk, turning his head the whole time. The action was repeated by several other children, but every parent, without exception, forced their children to move on quickly. At 45 minutes, the musician played continuously. Only 6 people stopped and listened for a short while. About 20 gave money, but continued to walk at their normal pace. The man collected a total of $32. After 1 hour, he finished playing, and the silence took over. No one noticed. No one applauded. There was no recognition at all. No one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the greatest musicians in the world. He played one of the most intricate pieces ever written, with a violin worth $3.5 million. 2 days before, Joshua Bell sold out a theater in Boston where the seats averaged $100 each to sit and listen to him play the same music. This is a true story. Joshua Bell, playing incognito in the D.C. metro station, was organized by the Washington Post as part of a social experiment about perception, taste, and people's priorities. The experiment raised several questions. In a commonplace environment, at an inappropriate hour, do we perceive beauty? If so, do we stop to appreciate it? Do we recognize talent in an unexpected context? One possible conclusion reached from the experiment could be this: if we do not have a moment to stop and listen to one of the best musicians in the world, playing some of the finest music ever written with one of the most beautiful instruments ever made, how many other things are we missing as we rush through life? So that was the post that I shared, and I thought, wow, that was so amazing. And yeah, Dottie, you read that. I loved that article. It did raise several questions, and I kind of read through some of the comments, and some of the people were saying, well, that's not fair to put something in, that kind of situation where people are rushing to and from work. They are scheduled. The trains are on schedule. The kids have to be on schedule, and yes, there is that. But there were those few people, like he said, that did stop, even for that moment, to appreciate that music out of context. And it just kind of got me thinking and reflecting back on my walk, the beauty of that sunset I was gifted, and then the cathedral, the beauty of being able to view the cathedral from the perspective of being behind the scenes as a lector. So again, appreciating some of the things that we are gifted when we either, stop to recognize or put ourselves in places and possibilities to recognize the giftedness all around us. So that's kind of what I got for you today. Just remembering, to push ourselves, yes, into some of the possibilities, because that's where some of the greater rewards are. But also, I was talking to a friend the other day about looking forward into this year. I have one more semester of classes, and Lord willing, I have a final project I'll be doing, an interview with the bishop, and then October, hopefully, Lord willing, be certified. So as I move into this final semester, I was joking with Libby the other day, I need to kind of get serious about like what I'm doing. And I have been, but again, it's sort of like you trudge through so much material, and you have to think about how much is really sinking in, to your heart, to your spirit, to the minister you're trying to be. So yeah, I have that to look forward to, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it, kind of what I want to be when I grow up with it. And so one of the things that I've been doing too recently is I've been staying an extra few minutes at Mass. After Mass, we do sort of we do the rosary before Mass, so it's not very quiet right before Mass. So the only time really to have that quiet is after Mass, or if you go to adoration, which they've kind of suspended our adoration right now with the uptick of COVID cases. But again, just taking that time to sit in the quiet and to reflect on the word, whatever the homily was, reflect on my day, invite the Lord into it to be with me, with who I meet and what I'll do. So, so in doing that, and then of course we studied different spiritualities in the diaconate program this last semester, and so reminding myself of Teresa of Lisieux, the little flower. And she didn't have any grand plans. She didn't have any grand vision of who she was or who she thought she was. She was very humble. She had a very simple faith and belief, and a beautiful spirituality that basically was just her little way. That she was who she needed to be to others, imitating God, being the imitation of Christ, for who was presented and what was presented to her that day. Nothing really more or less. So sometimes it can be that simple. Our faith and who we are to be and what we are to do is just what's presented to us that day. And yes, certainly we would like to have big plans, for the future, and look to see, like, what is God calling me to do in a larger sense, but also not to forget and neglect what's around us, to push ourselves to be able to see the gifts of those things that God is gifting us right before our very eyes. Good morning, Bernadette. Great to see you. So yeah, that's kind of what I got for you this morning. If you're at the stage of life where I am, where you've had so many New Year's and New Year's resolutions that you sort of get to the point where you've kind of refined, who you are, certainly always room for growth, always room for refinement. But it's not as drastic, I think, or as desperate, I think, sometimes, as when we're younger and feeling that real drive to change. I certainly am always looking for God's refinement in my life, and who He's calling me to be and what He's calling me to be in the world. But yeah, sometimes it comes with a simple conversation with a friend like I had yesterday, or it comes in sitting after Mass quietly to reflect on the Word, or sitting at evening prayer with my husband, bringing our concessions and who we want to pray for. So sometimes it can be in the smaller, more subtle areas of refinement and looking to who we're going to be next year in the world. So those are kind of my thoughts. So if you don't have any ideas yet, not to worry. There's time to pause and reflect and pray. And it was funny because I did look at looking up sort of like a few things to do. The word that was presented to me, there was one of these things where you could have like a random word kind of picked out for you, and actually mine was encounter, which I thought was actually pretty good. Kind of looking, I may toss it into to the ideas of who I think I'm going to be this year, or what my word's going to be. And then I follow a lot of different health gurus on Instagram, and one of the guys I follow is Dr. Chatterjee, and he had 7 things to do in 2022, and they're free. Prioritize your meaningful relationships in person or using technology. Have some phone-free time every day. Get outside for a walk every lunchtime. Try not to take things personally. Judge yourself and others less. Acknowledge one thing you're grateful for every day. Listen to an uplifting podcast every week. Hint, hint. So yeah, those are kind of some of his suggestions that I thought were really simple, but really good too. Like I said, we don't have to say I'm going to start a whole new exercise routine, or I'm going to start a whole new diet, or I'm going to change, who I am, integrally, like looking at, reflecting on who we are, what the good things were, and moving forward in pressing on toward, the good that we have really surrounded ourselves with, and that we have felt has been positive in our world. Sometimes it's just as simple as that. Um, let's see. I go back to my notes. So yeah. So then going back to my earlier, conversation about the sunset. So kind of all winds back to that sunset when it was, I had posted, a friend of mine had posted a picture of the sunset, and it was in her story, and I responded to her. I said, "Oh my gosh, it was just an amazing sunset tonight." And I didn't have a camera. So then she shared with me another picture from another friend that she had posted the picture. That was more of what I saw. It was sort of like, it literally was like a cross, like a beautiful cross in the sunset. And so she shared this picture that her friend shared with her. And I couldn't get a good kind of picture of it. So I looked at, the Instagram, and I found who the person was. And here I know this person. She went to our parish, and she's just a beautiful, beautiful person. She had a horrible tragedy happen several years ago. She lost her younger son in an automobile accident. And this picture that was gifted to her, this sunset, was reminding of her of a tattoo that her son had. So yeah, it was just a very special interplay of different, events that kind of brought me back around to this friend that, I had not forgotten about, but, didn't necessarily, think about in this time. And it was a great reminder to think about her, pray for her, and remember, the beautiful gift her son was, and that beautiful gift that sunset was to remind us of that. So that was kind of my story coming full circle. So yeah, just kind of rambling this morning. Hopefully it's making some sense and you're getting something out of it. But I wanted to also end with a couple prayers, because I remember, saying that I was sitting kind of in quiet after church. I always do some prayers for priests and prayers for different things. And then I happened to find this prayer that I had kind of forgotten about. It's a beautiful prayer, and I probably have shared it before, but it's called A Prayer to Achieve Inner Peace. So in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Slow me down, Lord. Ease the pounding of my heart by the quieting of my mind. Steady my hurried pace with a vision of the eternal reach of time. Give me, amid the confusion of the day, the calmness of the everlasting hills. Break the tensions of my nerves and muscles with the soothing music of the singing streams that live in memory. Help me to know the magical restoring power of sleep. Teach me the art of taking minute vacations, of slowing down to look at a flower, to chat with a friend, to pet a dog, to read a few lines from a good book, to take in a sunset. Slow me down, Lord. In the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit. So how appropriate was that as I was sitting, taking in my quiet time, to listen to what the Lord has for me, to be gifted with that prayer at the end of my prayer time. So yeah, that was a lovely ending to my prayer time, my quiet time Tuesday when I was at church. And then I also found I wanted to share a New Year's prayer that I found that I thought was really beautiful. So again, Lord, you make all things new. You bring hope alive in our hearts and cause our spirits to be born again. Thank you for this new year, for all the potential it holds. Come and kindle in us a mighty flame, so that in our time many will see the wonders of God and live forever to praise your glorious name. Amen. So that is my New Year's prayer for y'all, for the Faith in Real Life family. Thanks for hopping on this morning and joining us in community. and just being, present and in the Word together, starting our morning. We so appreciate our Faith in Real Life family. And again, we did. I know we've all said it, but we missed you while we were at our break. I know Greg is feeling better, and hopefully he will be better enough to be on tomorrow. But if not, we'll have something great in store. So thanks for being part of the family. And again, if you find that there's value in these these videos, little nuggets you can share with people that need it, share it on your wall, share it with a friend. Go to faithinreallife.com and share some of the resources that are on that page. Share the Trilogy Center, the Retreat Center. Share it with people that you think might need a day away to reflect on what God's trying to call them to this year. So yeah, please keep my husband in your prayers this weekend. He has a retreat for the diaconate with Father Michael Stala, our pastor. So hopefully that will be a fruitful experience for the men in formation. And have a great day. Make it a great day. Make it a great week. And set yourself up with some reminders to take in some of the beauty, some of the smaller things that God is trying to reveal to you to make it a great year. All right. Sound good, fam? So peace be with you. Thanks for hopping on this morning. And have a great rest of your day.